So we recently hit 100 subscribers on this channel, and I wanted to put something together to celebrate. Since Secret Lab is most of the content on here, I wanted to try something I rarely ever do in the game: play normally. More specifically, I played 100 games across a bunch of different servers, and here's what happened. I started out on the server I play on the most, King's Playground. At the time, they didn't have very many mods besides the random chance to spawn with a few extra items as certain classes. One thing they do have though is a rule against killing unarmed D-class, including this one I saw running around heavy containment after I got separated from my team. I brought him to surface where the MTF spawned, so we all went back into the facility, where I was then killed by SCP-049 and didn't make the next spawn. Great start. In round 2, I spawned as the Old Man, where my team and I had an all-around good game. We cleaned up most of the facility and then got a little help from the Chaos Insurgency, giving us an easy SCP win. The next round was about the opposite. My guard friend and I narrowly managed to outrun Doctor and Larry, and then we had this weird encounter with Dog, and a D-class let me know that Chaos had spawned.
Chaos spawned, that means you should kill me.
Knowing I had basically no chance, I jumped into this pit. Totally on purpose, by the way. In round 4, I spawned as the Plague Doctor. I've picked up a few zombies as the Plague Doctor does, but one of my newly raised children started having an argument with 173.
Rotting vocal cords. Will you shut up?
It still didn't stop us from winning the round though. My luck must have been great, because the next round I got my second SCP round in a row already, spawning as the Shy Guy. Feast your eyes on peak 096 gameplay as I get a grand total of 1 kill and then a well-deserved dub. Round 6 was my first taste of light containment. I spawned as a scientist and found 914, where I upgraded my card, juked out Pina, and then escaped. I met this D-class who, instead of wanting to escape, he asked that he died like his brothers, and I didn't want to pull the trigger myself since I was afraid of being punished with the no kill on sight rule, so I sent him into this crowd of MTF instead. In round 7 I spawned as a D-class myself and I found 914, but unfortunately Larry and Shy Guy did too. One was friendly, but the other... Right before the next spawn, my luck started to catch up to me and the game crashed. When I reconnected, I got to witness this devastating SCP loss. Rest in peace to that Larry though, he was a real one. In the next round, I spawned as a guard. We did a ton of damage to Doctor before we encountered Larry and Shy Guy again, and while everyone else was scrambling to run from Shy Guy, I took a gamble and let Larry capture me. I used the keycard trick to escape, but my luck didn't last long enough because I was killed by the Peanut seconds later and then had to bear witness to this.
Mars, please.
Oh my god, this is agonizing.
This is cancer.
It's just sad. This is literally just sad.
Oh, grenade. Dude,
Cancerous.
this is unbelievable.
Like, no HP. If I just shot him, I would've lived.
Oh my god.
Nobody knows how low he is.
Like a couple shots.
In round 9, my D-class friends and I upgraded a card to escape, but we didn't need to because we met some nice Chaos Insurgents and entrants. In total, 7 of us escaped, which pretty much guaranteed an Insurgency win. In round 10, I changed things up and went to the minigame server since a lot of you found me from this video. We played a revolver free-for-all, a jailbird free-for-all, and then Juggernaut. Then somebody suggested red light, green light, so everybody in Spectator planned to run when red light was called, and then once we got there, I was the only one who did. Everyone else chickened out.
None of you ran at red light. You all fucking chicken out.
Feeling betrayed, I moved to the next server, Banana's Bungalow. The server doesn't have very many mods either, besides some weird box in the corner of the map, as well as a respawn timer and a ticks per second counter, which I'll talk about later. For now though, it was time for round 11, where I went to 914 and then got grabbed by Larry, and as you can see, I was pretty scared. Anyway, when I respawned as an MTF, I found this facility manager on the ground, so I used it to activate the nuke. Unfortunately, every SCP made it to the surface in time, and even more unfortunately, this wasn't a teleporter like I thought it was. The next round wasn't very eventful. I escaped Dog thanks to the elevators, and then I thought I was in the clear until I met this guy standing on the other side. At least I get to be a zombie. Oh, that was quick. 13, known for being a famously unlucky number, reflected just about how this round went. There was so much lag that the ticks per second counter I mentioned earlier showed that the game was only updating about half as fast as it should be, and this is what the entire round looked like. The lag became too unbearable to play with, so I moved over to Dr. Bright's facility, the server with the most mods so far. It's got custom classes, random events that can happen to the facility, and the infamous SCP-035 item mod. Did I also mention how you can get pink candy from the candy room? Because I found that out the hard way. When I respawned as MTF, I had a little redemption by helping to kill Doctor, and then I almost paid the price by taunting, but I didn't, so I ended up doing it again. While I was upgrading my card in round 15, surprise surprise, Larry shows up. I tried reasoning with him, but he didn't feel like being merciful today. When I came back as Chaos, my entire squad got ambushed by Shy Guy. I managed to barely escape to an elevator when a random event just so happens to occur, which just so happens to turn off the lights, when Peanut just so happens to be at the bottom of the elevator. I swear, there's no making this up. This was the first round I spawned as 173, and not much happened early on besides the usual neck snapping. Later on though, I met our SCP-035 and spent his final moments with him before he ran out of HP. Then I saved this chaos and adopted him, and Larry and I went up to surface right before the nuke detonated, but came face to face with these guys. Round 17 and hey, what's that? Okay, lesson learned. Don't grab the conveniently placed OP item. Okay, now lesson learned, because the same thing would have happened if the 035 from the last item I picked up hadn't still been alive. Anyway, since we were in 914, my friends and I spent around 7 minutes upgrading to micros, only to immediately encounter this fella. In round 18, I spawned as the Kid, which is a custom class that turns you into the height of a dwarf basically, and allows you to grab 3 pieces of candy from the candy room. Too bad I didn't get to use it though.
You gotta be f***ing kidding me.
The next game, I finally met a friend who wasn't interested in blowing me up. It was a long journey to surface and we were almost there, but then my spider senses must have activated or something.
Let's just go before like a spawn wave or something happens. Getting 05 on him, holy shit. No! Are you kidding me?
At least I get to be 035. In round 20, I was killed and then revived as a zombie, and then I met a few fellow zombies, and we just messed around in Nuke for the entire rest of the round. I went back over to the minigame server and immediately got thrown into a game of red light green light, which I lost after not very long. To keep everybody entertained, the host threw together a few side events, the first of which being, unfortunately, Peanut Roulette. After that though was another jailbird free-for-all, which I won, and because of that, the hosts let me choose the next side event. I chose dodgeball because I wanted to watch the world burn. To end everything, the hosts threw us all into 914 and then spawned in an invincible 096. I could only take so much chaos, so I moved on to the next server, which is called Serpent's Garden. This is the most heavily modded and, in my opinion, the most underrated server that I played on in this video. They make all of the mods that they use there, including a Chaos Spy class, random events that happen across the facility, their own surface rework, and an entire parking garage. Despite that, you'll usually only see about 20 players on the server at a time if you're lucky. In round 22, I may have died 4 times, but I didn't really care because I was just amazed by all the new stuff that this server had to offer. I'm telling you, if the Secret Lab experience ever starts getting a little bit stale, then you gotta go here. In round 23, things were looking pretty bleak for the MTF team when suddenly, you wouldn't believe it, but the Men in Black showed up.
What does that mean, the Men in Black?
With help from them, we were easily able to win the game. We even had some fireworks to celebrate. I don't want to talk about round 24. Once again, I fought to make it to surface only to die right at the finish line. This time though, I spawned as a custom class that gave me a railgun, so I used it to take my revenge. In the next round, I spawned as a senior scientist, which is a class that lets me know which SCPs spawned that round. Since I knew there was a computer, I didn't take any chances with 914, and instead I grabbed a zone manager card and went over to heavy containment. I grabbed 2 colas along the way and then I drank them after I escaped, so I was zooming around for a while until the nuke went off with me inside since I assumed that somebody would turn it off. In round 27 I died not once, not twice, but 3 times to dog, and then this guy got stuck in a window for the rest of his life. While I was having a lot of fun on this server, it was time to move on to the next one. But before I do, I just want to encourage you guys to check out the server, especially if you live on the US East region, because it reminded me of all the fun I used to have on a server that used to exist. The fact that so little players play on this for how unique it is honestly kind of criminal. Anyway, the next server I played on was the Curva official server. It's one of the first servers that shows up if you play in the US East region, so it's really hard to actually join, which is why I hopped in the moment I saw a spot was open. I figured out how to go into the files and change the names of some classes, so in round 28 I spawned as the guy who dies first. I ran around shooting SCPs for a while until Peanut snuck up behind me, and this guy must have been extremely thankful for a bus ticket or something.
Yes, thank you so much.
Holy fucking shit, jump scare.
Let me get just what I need, the dogs.
In the next round, Dog set his sights on me specifically, and then the rest of the round was just a hunt for one scientist. In round 30, I spent 2 minutes trying to find 914, and then, unsurprisingly, this happened. That's the thing about playing on a small unmodded server like this. You don't have any custom classes that can give you any sort of bag of tricks off of spawn, so you're really on your own the entire time, making it much harder to escape. In round 31, I messed around with Dog for a while until Larry messed with me. Twice. At the 1/3 mark, I came across a conga line, so naturally I joined it. We paraded around light containment for a while, and even the SCPs joined us, and they helped us by opening the checkpoint doors too. Eventually though, the guy who was playing the music got shot by a random guard, and then Larry betrayed me. I managed to escape the pocket dimension, and I tried to carry on the legacy,
Sometimes I suck on a penis.
but this random MTF had other plans. Round 34 was my first SCP round in a while as the Plague Doctor. I picked up a few zombies whether they liked it or not,
You were like
they're
the
all
last
chaos.
There's
I don't care.
and we cleaned up pretty quickly. For round 35, an admin wanted to host an event, so he said he'd do 3 rounds of hide and seek, but with a twist. 3 guards would get guns to hunt down everybody else, but if anyone managed to survive for more than 3 minutes, they would get a gun to fight back. In the first round, one guy managed to survive in this glitchy hiding spot. In the second round, the guards didn't even come close, and in the third round, I got to spawn as a guard, but the admin forgot to give me any ammo, so I couldn't really do much. And in the other third round, apparently, I hid with a bunch of D-class in the glass room, but guards came and killed everybody except this one guy who survived with this Looney Tunes level hiding spot. When I hopped on, I couldn't get back into Curvas, so I went over to Serpent's Garden instead. Pretty early on into round 36, I was killed by 049 and then got revived as a zombie and played as that for the rest of the game. In the next round, I spawned as Plague Doctor again, but I didn't get to pick up many zombies this time. I somehow made it a while despite that, but then Nuke brought me up to surface right in front of a full MTF spawn wave. In round 38, I joined late but got put into the game anyway, and I gotta say, the game is actually pretty eerie when there's nobody around. Well, there was nobody around except for Dog, that is. Later that round, I found out I wasn't the only one who wanted revenge against the Dog, because this guy was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice just to get rid of him.
Holy shit! It actually worked.
Oh, wow.
As the nuke was going off, I left this guy behind thinking he was a chaos, but it doesn't matter because I totally won the game. Next round was yet another Plague Doctor round. I raised a few zombies, including this guy who had a particle disruptor. Him, the Serpent's Hand, and I made a great team, and we won the epic final battle on surface after the nuke went off. In round 40, this scientist 3-shot me with the worst weapon in the game, but when I respawned I was given a jailbird, which I used to fight Peanut until he just gave up and jumped off the map, and then I also helped to take out Dog too. In round 41 I spawned as the Nut, but my Plague Doctor didn't really feel like being a Plague Doctor that round, so he just let himself get overrun by the guards. Just Dog and I were left, and we were actually having a nice conversation till we got rudely interrupted. For round 42 I headed back to Banana's bungalow since it was functioning normally again, and I got my first round as SCP-079. It was going well for a while until my teammates just flat out ignored me and didn't even bother with the generators, and they got overrun later on. If only, I don't know, they had someone who could lock the doors for them or something. Just before round 43, I changed my graphics so it should hopefully look a lot better for you guys. Anyway, I got trapped in the checkpoint room with Doctor, so I waited for him to call down an elevator so I can run in and sneak past him, but I wasn't expecting a bunch of guards to be inside. Doctor got into the elevator and I got caught right in the crossfire. In Spectator, I noticed this guy was doing some really weird stuff by the MTF spawn, so when I respawned, I went over to investigate and I saw an ant, so I squished it.
Hey, I found an ant! I found an ant! Come squish it!
The round ended when the last guy literally fell from the sky. This round, the facility may as well have been a forest the way everyone was camping. People were hiding in Nuke Room, Warhead on surface. One of the admins even helped the MTF ambush our Chaos Wave by building some sort of Fortnite skybase. My next server was King's Playground Server 4. This one's drastically different from Server 1, the one I played on earlier, because it has custom guns, random event rounds, and crazy pills, which are basically pills that have a completely random effect. I joined in late in round 45, but thanks to a crazy pill I got spawned in as an MTF bodyguard, and I think I fulfilled the role pretty well. I took out a few zombies and had this close fight with Dog. Round 46. I spawned as the guy who dies first, died first, spawned as the guy who dies second, and then died second. My luck wasn't so good in round 47 either. Near the beginning of the round, somebody who was inside the pocket dimension took crazy pills, which swapped our position. Since everybody spawns with crazy pills, the MTF team just took a bunch of them on surface and most of them died from the effects it gave them, and those of us who didn't. The same thing happened in round 48 too. All of the MTF took their pills, which resulted in most of us dying, and then the SCPs cleaned up the rest of us. In the next round, I thought my luck was starting to turn around, since this time I was the one who got teleported out of the pocket dimension thanks to pills.
Wait, maybe I can swap positions with someone?
I thought it was. Round 50, the halfway point, and it got off to such a great start when a kid who sounded like he looked something like this said the N-word immediately.
Oh, fuck yourself.
When I spawned as a guard, I got cornered, so I took the pills labeled death to see what would happen.
May as well see what this does.
When I respawned as the MTF, I was busy taking notes on my findings with the death pills, and I didn't notice Larry pop out right in front of me. I took my pills in the pocket dimension as a last-ditch effort, and I got promoted, which also resulted in me getting an immortality glitch inside the pocket dimension. I chilled for a while there until the admins forced me to pick a hallway, and the one I chose was correct, so I started grabbing items until I noticed this fella on surface. Round 51 was the Enraged 049 event where Plague Doctor gets 12,000 HP, instant revive. There are custom zombie classes, but he's the only SCP and only MTF can spawn. Somebody took their crazy pills which teleported me to entrance, but as you can see I wasn't the only one who got teleported there.
What are the chances of that?
So when I was revived I had a key card and I tried to go to 914 to upgrade it but got gunned down by a scientist. When I came back as an MTF I planned to grab the micro and use my pills to hopefully get invincibility, but I got the opposite. Round 52 was just a disaster. Not only did I forget to record most of it, but the game for some reason got switched over to my other monitor, and so I spent most of the early game just trying to move it back, but I was killed by a Chaos who must have been speedrunning the game, so I just gave up and played the rest of the game like that. Round 53 was just a typical die to peanut, respawn, and SCPs camp the elevator type of round. Round 54 was another event round. It was the D-Class Revolution event, which is basically just a team deathmatch between guards and D-Class. I went to heavy containment with my teammates where one of us killed a D-Class who wanted to join us, and so as punishment we found these death pills on the ground and tried to make him take them, but while we were doing that every D-Class managed to escape and become a Chaos Insurgent with upgraded guns, and so they wiped us all out pretty easily. Once again, Peanut made it into 914. We managed to trap him in there, but Computer bailed him out, and then him and his teammates didn't return the favor by just ignoring all the generators. When the 079 door opened, I went to go press the shiny red button, but I was met with Dog and Larry. I went for a heroic card throw to lock the dog in, but I got grabbed by Larry right before I could. This Larry looked pretty friendly, but Computer kept egging him on to kill us, to which he eventually caved. Later that round, I spotted the same Larry running down a hallway, so I tried to shoot at him, but I ended up killing 049 instead somehow. In round 57, I spawned as a scientist, so naturally I grabbed a zone manager and went up to heavy looking for a sergeant card. I found one, but that wasn't the only thing I found. Luckily, since I was on a cola I grabbed earlier that round, I was able to get away. I almost made it to the exit when I met this D-class with a gun who converted me to the dark side. I killed this zombie, and as you can see, he dropped a pulse rifle, which I used to vaporize other zombies. Then I yeeted myself off the edge when things got dicey.
You'll never take me alive.
New server time. This one's called Skull Island, and besides a couple of custom classes, it's not very heavily modded, but apparently the admins can do whatever they want, which you'll see in just a second. One of the custom classes includes the Smuggler class, which gives a player completely random items, and this smuggler here happened to spawn with a gun, and I just so happened to be a scientist. The SCPs made quick work of the round after that, and just before it reset, I witnessed this.
What the hell is Big G doing? Oh my god.
Another one of the custom classes on this server is the Intern class, which is a scientist that spawns an entrance but gets no items. That's not what happened with this guy though, because when my guard friend and I trapped him in a room, he pulled out a giant laser gun somehow, and then I quickly met his demands by just opening the door for him. Karma quickly caught up to me because I was killed by 049, revived as a zombie, and then killed by a D-class after I tried to be friendly with him. And then the admin thought that spawning in 80 plus balls was so funny the first time that he had to do it again.
I meant to
I was fed up with the bullshit that was going on that server, so I changed things up by heading to a small server. I found a vanilla server with 5 people named Lobotomy Central, so I headed there since that's just how this game feels sometimes, you know? In my first game there, I was one of 2 D-class that spawned. We had a pretty easy time getting to 914 and upgrading, but as we tried heading to Heavy, we met the one threat in the entire game right there. I didn't make it, but the other D-class did, and so he met up with another scientist and they teamed up, but ended up blowing themselves up in an elevator together. I spawned as a guard and I got its second chance against the dog. I tried to grenade trap him and it totally worked, but he somehow survived for some reason. That's weird. I spawned with another MTF and we went on a hunt for the dog, but we couldn't find him for a while. It took so long that a chaos spawned, and in an interesting twist of events, we ended up teaming up to try and kill the dog, but then the dog teamed up with us, so the game was essentially just gonna last forever. The dog must have recognized this because at one point he left the game and then a chaos just killed me so that he can end the round already. At the end of the day, I technically did beat the dog just by boring him to death. In round 62, it didn't take that long to die as a D-class, but my 3 MTF friends and I weren't gonna let that slide. We geared up and then detonated the nuke, forcing Larry to surface, and then we took him down with the power of teamwork. I spared this D-class and it ended up working out in my favor because he later killed the scientist for me when we got locked in a stalemate because he had micro. But then he said this.
You were never on the same side.
I'll remember that. In round 64, it started off after I heroically took down this guard. Then Larry chased me around for a while, so I escaped him using an elevator. I could have just left the facility, but then I remembered this.
You were never on the same side.
Yeah, it didn't work, but at least it was worth a shot. For round 65, I gave Skull Island another chance, and I'll just let this one play out for you guys.
The lemon and the lime. Gustavo the Lemon was a suave young man, and he was deeply in love. God damn it.
No. No.
Come on.
I will execute you.
Oh god. Oh god. Hey guys, the mod's gonna kill me. This is my final message.
Indeed, I have slept long enough. The kingdom of heaven is long since forgotten. Eager to make them remember. However, the blood of Minas stains you, and at this point, I'm curious about your skills, weapons, and so, before I tear down the cities and crush the armies of heaven, you shall do as an appetizer. Come forth, child of man, and die.
No! Oh god. What? What the fuck? What just happened?
Not much happened in the facility in round 66, but when I came outside with a few teammates, we saw these guys just walking on nothing. Then chaos spawned right below us. Knowing there was no chance for me to win, I did what any brave warrior would do, and I hid in a dark corner until my problem went away. When everything settled, I came out to try and grab ammo, but I couldn't since Peanut was on the surface, and I tried closing this door to buy myself a little time, but then this happened for some reason, and I eventually got caught. In the next round, I spawned as a D-class once again, and I met these guards in heavy containment who tried to bring me to safety, but we got separated and I had to resort to playing Ring Around the Rosie with Larry for a while before he gave up. I needed a new card, so I went back to heavy containment and I met this D-class who I fought with and died with. In round 68, I was the intern, and I found some crazy pills in a locker, so naturally I took them. And it must have been Benadryl because I started hearing whispers. I got cuffed by two D-class who brought me to the surface, and then as I was heading to Gate B, I saw a carbon copy of our group from a minute prior. Round 69, give it up for round 69. I forgot to record most of round 70, so well done me I guess, but it just ended with the SCPs toying around with this guard. Round 71 was my first 079 game in almost 30 rounds. It went pretty well, which sadly means there's not much to comment on besides the dog just trolling the zombies with these grenade sound effects. The round after that had extreme lag, which is obviously why I died here. It didn't stop us from trapping the Plague Doctor though.
Yes, he's locked in.
Once again, I moved servers because of lag, and this time it was to a server called Unigamia, which is basically infamous for having no rules, including what you can and can't say. Round 73 was my first game there, and it started out with everybody turning into whatever the Overwatch role is. Then we got an announcement telling us that this was an America round.
What you meant by America? Shit on.
In round 74, I had this sketchy encounter with the dog, and then while I was being chased by every SCP, I went for this risky epic gamer jump, but my gun just took a little bit too long to reload. Here I got cornered, so I tried to take a gamble with Larry, but I sadly lost. I respawned as Chaos, but I got placed inside the void, and I stayed there for a few minutes to see if anything would happen, but I gave up and rejoined the server. Right after I joined, I spawned as MTF, but thanks to the server's no rules policy, this happened. This is a regular occurrence here, by the way. Rounds 76 through 80 were a bit different. Somebody started a gang war between the Bloods and the Crips, not to be confused with the Bloods and the Crips, and everybody just went along with it. A lot of stuff happened here, so I might just turn this into its own separate video at some point, and if I do, I'll put the title card in the corner. After the whole gang war happened, I moved back to the minigame server for one last time. The first game was Juggernaut, but it was a Chaos Insurgency versus 1D class, and the host forgot to turn on friendly fire, so people just resorted to the next best thing, trying dicks on the wall of course. After that was a game of 939 hide and seek on the gate A side of surface. I hid on the bottom in plain sight, but I somehow didn't notice the entire car coming up behind me. Then to finish it, we played Pink Candy Manhunt. I tried to make this glitchy jump to escape an explosive scientist, and hey look, I made... Oh. The final new server I would be playing on was Chaos Theory, the successor to Unlimited SCP. It has a lot of small mods, but most notably the Serpent's Hand class and the Crazy Pills. Speaking of the Serpent's Hand, in round 82, my team and I were too focused on Peanut that they came up from behind and got us. In round 83, I found myself running from Dog as an MTF, and with no other option, I took the pills, which turned me into a Chaos Insurgent. I teamed up with my former enemy, but it still wasn't enough for the horde of MTF that we had to fight. I escaped as a D-class in round 84 to become Serpent's Hand, but immediately got spawn killed by the MTF. Zombies don't need them as long as we have teamwork. I slipped past 049 and got into Heavy, where I was captured by a guard and then liberated by Serpent's Hand moments later. I was almost home free, but MTF ruined it once again, so I fought back and hit this jailbird triple kill before dying in a heroic battle. Do you hear that?
Run! Run! Run, boy, run! No, never mind, you die!
Fuck that guy.
Yes, against all odds, I somehow managed to survive a rogue D-Class and 096 himself, but not only that, I found an 05, I grabbed micro for later, and then when Larry forced me into the Gate A elevator, I could have escaped, but I remember what happened earlier. I wanted redemption. Round 88 was a 939 round, and my team all got picked off until I got trapped on surface in an unwinnable 1v14. In round 89, I was back on Serpent's Garden, and usually games there last quite a while, but not this one, because the SCPs took out the last guy just 6 seconds before the first spawn wave. Round 90 looked like it was going to be an easy SCP win for us, but then I stepped out of the elevator at the wrong time, and Larry just decided to stay behind for whatever reason.
Wait, Larry, why?
It actually ended up being really close with a human and the zombie 1v1 on surface, but the human player took the game home for their team. Here I spawned as the Impersonator class, which allows me to take the appearance of whatever class belongs to the keycard I'm holding. I used it to fool the SCPs into thinking I was a Serpent's Hand and the MTF into thinking I was a scientist until I got caught off guard by Doctor in Entrance Zone. For the final countdown of 9 rounds, I went back to where it all began, King's Playground Server 1. In round 92, I met 4 D-Class who wanted to become zombies, so I brought them to 049 and they helped out for a while until they all got killed by the same ball. Doctor and Computer died to the nuke, but Dog and I managed to clutch the game right before the next spawn wave.
Let's go! I think we did it!
My friends and I had no interest in becoming MTFs, so with the help of Computer, we got guns and successfully fought our way to the exit. MTF ended up spawning anyway despite how many D-Class escaped, and they got me on surface after I pulled out my hat a little bit too late. The entire gang chased me around in round 94, and needless to say I didn't make it. When I was revived as a zombie, I was killed by a random D-Class hiding in a corner, and then got spawn killed as Chaos, so I was just about done with this round, and I microed 096 to death to end the game. I nearly escaped as a D-boy, but I ran into the 3 Stooges over here. When I respawned, we ended up killing the SCPs with relative ease, but the game still didn't end because this guy had 2 small D-Class pets following him around until he despawned them. In round 96 I had this debatable death, but even more debatable was this death I had at the beginning of round 97. Whatever happened, it crowned me the death speedrun champion with a 58-second lifespan. Later, my comrades and I held Larry off long enough just for the nuke to go off, but we ended up doing the Chaos Insurgency's job for them. Round 98 started off easy when the scientists led me to safety, but as you can see we had a visitor here in Gate B. Round 99 was probably my best 049 round, not just in the challenge, but probably ever. I revived more zombies than I probably ever have in a single game, and I had up to 9 at one point, so needless to say it was an SCP win. It's time for the final round, and I wanted to make it count. It started off pretty strong when I escaped the facility as a scientist with an 05 card. I used my card to detonate the nuke, but unfortunately it backfired because all the SCPs were waiting at Gate B for a spawn wave, so when the door opened they all just left. I knew there was no chance of me winning this fight, so I at least gave myself a proper round 100 send-off.